Elizabeth Milos, UPTE Members for Palestine.
Maybe you can talk about UPTE and the union's struggle, because you said in your speech that there's an internal struggle in the labor movement, and UPTE, your union, suppressed a resolution that was passed in solidarity with Palestinians and against the Histadrut, the Israeli Trading Federation.
Well, yeah, that was one of the major things, that our resolution that's here from UPTE, which was passed by the executive board in June 2021, included breaking ties with Histadrut. And this present leadership of UPTE took it off of the website. They didn't suppress it. Well, I guess that's suppressing. Yeah, they took it off of the website. Yeah. And they're prioritizing contract negotiations, like they told me, instead of...
And this idea of business unionism in this country, there's no real opposition by the national unions against the trillions of dollars that are going to war. They separate business union contract negotiations with actually the war spending, which seems unlimited to support Israel, genocide in Gaza. What do you think about that whole issue of basically not taking up the issue of U.S. imperialism, U.S. war machine?
Well, it goes all the way back to, the AFL-CIO's involvement in intervention in countries in Latin America, which continues to this day through the Solidarity Center. So many people don't want to look at that. They don't want to look at that level of involvement, that how embedded we are within. I mean, the whole construction that's happening here today by the Helen Diller Foundation. Helen Diller Foundation is one of the major contributors to Canary Mission, the same Canary Mission that's attacking Denise Camargo. Right.
What is the Canary Mission?
It's an organization by Israel that is set up to dox and to expose and to falsely claim people that criticize Israel as anti-Semitic and destroy their academic life, their professional lives by getting them fired, basically, which is what happened to Denise. I don't have any evidence to support that Canary Mission directly was involved in the firing of Denise, but you can pretty much surmise it if you think about who the major donors are of the UC system.
And what role do they play in the university, the Diller Foundation and other wealthy supporters of Israel, Zionists?
Well, they recently, last November I think it was, where they had the Elia Carr, there was Zionists who were actually presented and made presentations here. They've been claiming that students who are Jewish are feeling feeling threatened. There's been no threats to any Jewish students at all. In fact, as you can see, there was a lot of participation of Jewish Voice for Peace, and millions of Jews nationwide have been at marches and demonstrations against Israeli apartheid and against the genocide.
And it seems like for American working people, the major choices, the Democrats and Republicans both have a policy of supporting Israel, and they say that they're Zionist. I mean, Harris says she's a Zionist, and she spoke at AIPAC. She supports Israel and this genocide, and they even refused to have one Palestinian American speak at the Democratic Convention while they had Zionists speak there. What does that say about the political reality that American working people are facing?
It basically says that it's not leaving Americans with many choices when it comes to voting, and that we definitely need a united front for a Labor Party in order to be able to have an alternative to this Democratic Party and Republican Party, so-called lesser of two evils, when in reality they're the same ruling party, the same ones that are doing this, basically.
And the Histadrut, which the AFL-CIO is affiliated to, recently had a general strike in Israel. They say that they want a ceasefire. What's the nature of the Histadrut, the relationship of the AFL-CIO to the Histadrut?
Well, first of all, the general strike that the Histadrut was presenting had to do only about the Israeli hostages and the fact that they had found 6 of them dead. It also has to do with the fact that Israel is suffering economically because of the war, and so of course they want the war to end, but not in the same way that Palestinians want the war to end. The Histadrut has been giving 400 shekels a month to the IDF reservists. So in essence, they're doing a general strike to have the war end, but they're paying the IDF reservists 400 shekels a month out of union dues, may I add. Histadrut has been involved in the creation of the Israeli state from the beginning, from the 1920s when it received funding from the American Federation of Labor. This was even before the establishment of the Israeli state. So there's a long history of collusion, illegal collusion of land theft, apartheid, and now genocide against the Palestinians by the American labor movement as well as by the U.S. government.
And UPTE is affiliated with the CWA. What's the role of the CWA, and have you brought these issues up at the CWA convention?
I did. I brought it up at the October 2021 convention. It was a Zoom convention. They did not allow the CWA resolution onto the floor. We brought it up there. They said they have links and they work with Histadrut, the CWA. That doesn't really surprise me because the CWA also had links with the ITT workers, or the ITT company that helped in the overthrow of the Allende government in Chile in 1973, as the declassified documents showed. So, the CWA president, in the 1960s, was the one to form the American Institute for Free Labor Development, which has now called the Solidarity Center, which has been involved with a lot of these so-called color revolutions around Latin America. Wherever there's popular governments, they go and instigate a lot of false news through social media with the help, honestly, also with the help of Facebook and with the help of Elon Musk, who has if you look at just the most recent example of Evo Morales, there was thousands of bots coming from internationally, from Twitter, going into, they weren't even coming out of Bolivia, they were coming into Bolivia to make people feel unsafe and also to give the idea that there was this major revolution happening. They tried to do the same thing in Cuba as well in 2021, it's basically very shameful how these social media companies are in cahoots, basically.
And the AFL-CIO leadership gets $75 million a year from the National Endowment for Democracy for the Solidarity Center. How can they say that they're representing the American workers when they're taking money from the U.S. government directly for international operations of the U.S. government all around the world?
Well, they really don't represent American workers because it's not in the interest of American workers to exploit workers in other parts of the world and to suppress popular governments that actually can show examples of what it means to have health care, what it means to have free education, what it means to have things that American workers here don't have. So honestly, what they do is they do that to suppress the popular movements happening in other parts of the world so that American workers do not have that as an example.
There's going to be a coming convention next year at the CWA. What should CWA members do about that convention and the issues that they can?
Well, we should definitely think about, first of all, not only passing a resolution, but actually acting on it, including the IT workers who there has been some movement regarding the no tech for apartheid and IT workers, because not many people realize that a lot of these healthcare workers and journalists and all these people that are being targeted by these bombs, they're targeted by these smart bombs, by IT, by these programs called Where's Your Daddy, where they go and follow a journalist all the way until he gets home, and then that's when they bomb him together, or he or she together with the rest of the family. They do the same thing with healthcare workers. And so IT is being used for that, and AI is being used for that primarily. So that's a major issue right there. We need to divest. We need to take our money away from that and break ties with Histadrut directly. And hopefully, I'm not sure how far it's going to take, but if we need to have a general strike, I would personally think that we need to push for that, a general strike in this country.
To stop the genocide. To
stop the genocide, yeah. This is the genocide. The only ones that are actually doing a humanitarian intervention, which is actually required by international law under the Genocide Convention, are the Yemeni, the Houthis. They're stopping ships going to Israel. They're the ones that are actually conducting humanitarian intervention. That's what the Genocide Convention demands.